Like that blue head. Oh, we're not live?
We're not live. Okay, well.
Why did you have to go over so long?
Well, that's what we did at the beginning.
Wait, now we are.
We
oh
are.
my God.
We are live from Gallifrey. Thanks for joining us on this beautiful
Hello,
Sunday.
everyone. Wow. Whoa. Oh my God.
We are looping back because
Yes.
we realized we actually weren't live from Gallifrey when we originally thought we were going
Exactly.
live.
Well,
So we were
see,
going to repeat everything that we just said.
It is so hard because the TARDIS is floating around and signals are being bounced off
Timey-wimey,
everyone.
wibbly-wobbly, but we are live
yes.
and we are here from the
And we
Comic Bug in
also
Manhattan
do,
Beach.
and we have a live studio audience. What are you guys doing? Come on. Come on for me. I did not know that was going to hit. I did not know that was going to hit. I did not know that was going to hit. I thought it was going to hit you. I thought it was going to hit you.
Oh my gosh. Jobbers just got splashed with water.
No, that was a hit for one.
I thought it was going to hit your head.
I'm glad that we don't have that many
viewers.
live.
Yeah, no,
If you were
no.
live in the chat.
No.
Gunning me.
Look, I want the applause, damn it. That's what I want. Thank you.
Applause,
I appreciate it.
applause, you all are. Got you like a
yes,
fish.
yes.
That's how it works on this show.
I love you, Shay. I love you so much. I love you. I'm so sorry. I did not. It was not supposed to hit. I know you fed me. It was not. Oh my God. Oh, that's what I should have thrown.
Oh,
That's what I
don't
should have
look at it.
thrown.
An
Look at
image
that.
of an angel is still an angel.
Oh,
Ooh.
yes.
Eccleston, our ninth Doctor. These guys don't really get to
We
come
don't
face
see
to
each other.
face.
No, but still, it works. It works.
I can't wait for that episode when we get to that season with Tennant. That one's going to be
Oh,
such
that's
a
gonna
good
be
one.
amazing.
That is one of my favorites. I recommend that to everyone. But
Definitely
today
will.
we are talking about New Earth. Sorry for all that commotion in the beginning. We are going to be right on track. We are talking about New Earth, which is our technically third episode with Tennant, but second full episode with
Yes.
Tennant. We got to see him briefly as he got some more from
definitely.
our ninth Doctor. But so we're getting used to this new Doctor, and I think it's super interesting. And I know I bashed Rose a lot, but I actually like Rose in this episode because she's not Rose and she's Cassandra.
I was gonna say that's the only reason you liked her. Only reason you liked
Cassandra
Rose
is one of my favorite. She's super selfish and
she's
but
real.
I
She's
still
real.
really like Cassandra as a character.
Oh, yeah.
Self-absorbed, but unlike Rose in most of these episodes,
yeah.
there are moments where she has that touch of humanity and sympathy and like even
Well,
if it's
yeah.
love for herself and giving this kind of like motivation to herself, like it's
True.
still compelling. I
It
still like
was.
her.
She's a character that is not even just multifaceted, but the thing is, she's so grounded. Because the thing is, like, I have this one kind of goal, which is not just self-preservation, but it's just kind of being better.
Well, she wants to be
I am the
beautiful.
one.
She is super,
Yeah.
super shallow in the beginning. And she just wants to survive, and she wants to be moisturized by her little minion. His name is Chip, I believe. And moisturize me. And she's just on the fringes of life. Like she's not really, she's alive, but she's not really living. She can't do anything. She has no appendages.
I was
Her
wondering
brain is
about
in a
that.
jar.
I was wondering about that. Was her brain in a jar before?
We didn't see it
We
because
didn't
they
see
wheeled
it.
her in, and we didn't see. But it could have been behind her dead skin.
Yeah, it could have
We
been
don't
the
know.
whole time. I don't know, but this one has veins and a face. And,
Well, she had
you
that.
know?
They said they salvaged her
Sure.
blue eyes from the previous skin
Yeah.
flap that she was.
Oh.
But yeah, and I think it's super interesting, and I like her character. That in this, she was just like she wants to find a body, and she actually loves Rose a lot. Where she was like, "Oh," and this rear bumper, and she's like patting herself, and I thought that was super amazing.
That
where
was
it's
good.
like-
That was good.
and then like she was like, "Oh." Cockney accent. She
Oh,
was
yeah,
like, "Oh, we gotta
God,
do something about
do
that."
Oh my God, I love that.
And then when she tries to imitate it, like
Oh.
everything that she says is just so ridiculous and so funny. And I love Billie Piper, the way that she tries to act and pretend to be Rose.
Cassandra, tries to be Rose, tried to be Cassandra playing as Rose.
Yeah.
It was great because it was like, okay, you can kind of see it was telegraphed, but you got what was happening. And when you really think about it, it's like you were playing someone.
And this is great. And I've only ever seen this in the Harry Potter movies.
Oh, yeah.
Where Bellatrix is trying to be Hermione.
Oh,
but,
man.
Or Hermione is.
Hermione's
I'm sorry.
trying to be Bellatrix, yeah.
Hermione's trying to be Bellatrix. Take that and flip that. But yeah, and I think it's just so funny, and it's such a great moment, and the accent and everything else, and everything she comes with, and I mean, obviously, this reflects really great on the Doctor too, because you know she thinks she's doing a good job. She's like, "Oh yes, what are we doing?" And the Doctor's like, "I'm very calm right now."
Yeah.
What the hell did you do to Rose?
Immediately,
what did you
he
do to
knew.
Rose? What did you do to Rose? And it shows that he's actually compassionate, that he's intelligent and doing all of this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. And I love the dynamic, even though Rose isn't a big part of this and it's mostly Cassandra, I love the dynamic with Tennant and everyone that he interacts with.
Yeah.
And I love him as a doctor immediately in this episode because he was trying to find his footing in the first one. Like, what kind of man am I? What am I doing? What kind of clothes should I wear? And this is the first time that we see Tennant as
Tennant, well, yeah, like I said it
or
off
as the
camera.
11th Doctor,
Yeah, I
not
said
as
it.
Tennant, but...
Yeah, pretty much. I said it off camera where it's like, okay, this is the Doctor getting his stride. First was, let me go ahead and I'm regenerating. I'm still learning. I'm still getting everything. Now I know who I am, and I want the world to also know. And that was beautiful because it's like you see the way it is, and you get this kind of personality that wasn't present in anything before. And finally, when we do get it, you get the confirmation that this character is here to stay, and we're only going to see him grow. And that's exactly what we get. And it's all encompassed in like pretty much the first 5 minutes while he's talking to her, and he's listening. And it's just, you're still getting characteristics that are so much the classic Doctor that we know and love now.
And it is kind of a well, every time the Doctor regenerates, it's kind of like a new series is coming up. And I see that in Rose's like first time on screen. She comes out and she's like, I'm so excited. I love this. I love being on new soil, experiencing new things every day. Like, I can never get tired of this. And I feel like he plays off of that too. Like, her excitement feels his excitement, and then him being kind of a kinder, more gentler Doctor, definitely. As opposed to Eccleston, who was like, humanity is stupid. You guys are all dumb. I don't know why I care. I just save Earth because I can. Versus Tennant is actually super empathetic to other people. Like, he comes up and he talks to like cat nurses. He's like, oh, bro, this is why I'm here. Like, we're all friends. I didn't know that this is the reason why I came. Yep. And cares about Rose immediately notices, like, this is not her. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to get mad, but I need to know how to fix this.
Yes. And he's like, what did you do to Rose? Oh, I didn't do anything. What do you mean you didn't do anything? What did you do to Rose? I love that. And it was just going that back and forth. The cat people, this is my thing. First time I ever saw it, I was like, yeah, that's hot. Next time I saw it, I was like, I'm really afraid of these cat people.
Yeah, because it's Sisters of Plenitude, especially they come out at the end where they're like, we don't need weapons, we got claws, and I'm going to scratch your eyes out. And I was like, I don't like that. Like, those aren't real weapons, but, you work with what you got. Yeah. You guys are, like, kind of, like, good sisters, and you're trying to heal people,
But when they realized they were going against zombies, it was like, oh, bit out more than we can chew. Yeah. That was the best part, because they were like, and then after that, it was like, and they were like, like the low kind of like, I'm just acting like I'm trying to swing at you.
But yeah, like the aesthetics of this episode too, I thought were really good. Like in this image here, that it looks like the Matrix, where they have the pods, they keep like humans kind of alive to harvest their energy to heal these people, and I kind of like that moralistic kind of conundrum of like, hey, we have all these people, but we are healing and curing a lot of other people. Is what we're doing actually bad? And I genuinely feel like they didn't know that these people were sentient and had feelings because they were created.
Yeah, that's right.
And they're like, wait, it sounds like they're actually formulating arguments and they're talking, and like, dude, are these actually people? Because I thought they were just bred to help cure diseases. Exactly. And I'm like, man, but even if they knew, is it a good decision to do this? Do you sacrifice the rights or, the few for the funny?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sacrifice for the few for the life of the many. Or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I'm not good at those quotes and idioms and stuff.
But no, pretty much that's essentially it. And you're like, well, then with that, there's that moral ambiguity where you're just like, okay, well, am I wrong? No, because I'm saving so many more people. So that's how I'll feel about it, and I'll live my life that way. And it's like, no. You're not. Because the thing is, when they start to speak to you, and they, like you said, formulating arguments, things of that nature, you're like, okay, they're beyond just sentient. They actually have a feeling, they have a quote-unquote a soul, whatever you want to call it.
And that's how this episode ends. Like, it takes up, and the doctor is like, hey, I'm going to mix all of these, like, bags together and create a cure, and I'm going to use this little device that we had, that whole elevator, like, decontamination thing, and it comes back at the end, saves everybody, they're healed, and like I thought it was super good. And we get this information from Cassandra of all people. When she goes into one, it's like they're reaching out because they've never been touched, they've never felt love, they never had affection, and that's why they're coming after us. And you can hear it in her voice where she's actually like, dude, this is messed up, man. Right. Like, I'm still gonna run away from them because I don't want diseases. This is messed up.
And that's very interesting, where it's like Cassandra, someone who is so self-absorbed, someone who's so self-centered, has a moment to step out of self to see what's happening in the world where other people couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's amazing to me. That's amazing. It's Cassandra has a heart.
Yeah, surprisingly, out of all the cold, callous people that's super self-absorbed, like, she is the one that kind of brings this into perspective of, like, no, they're people, they have thoughts, they need affection and love like any other human being.
Very true.
And I love how the Doctor, instead of kind of dismissing everyone like he typically does when it was 9th Doctor, 10th Doctor is like, I'm going to solve this, I'm going to bring them back. And not only that, like, he's there to kind of comfort them. Like, the first girl that comes up and she just hugs him, he's like, yeah, don't worry, it's going to be okay.
Yep.
Everything will be fine.
Very true. Very true. And with this episode, like you pointed out earlier, we were talking off camera, and it was like so many callbacks.
Yeah.
So many callbacks. We got the face of Bo.
Which is interesting because you really feel like he's dying in this episode. He's not doing well. He's not talking. And I do get it kind of confused with that because we're going to see him again. Spoilers, they mention it anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, I kind of almost forgot that was this episode he gets to beam away and he's like, I'm perfectly fine. I'm pretty old, but I'll see you later.
I'll see you later. Yeah, I was like,
we're gonna meet 3 times, and the 3rd time will be the last. And I feel like they do this kind of callback thing where this will be the last time that I see you multiple times. Like River Song is one of those where it's like, this is the last time I see you with this face versus the last time that the Doctor will see him versus the last time that she will see him.
Yes,
and it's different because it's like time travel and it's super fun and super crazy and it brings out like the best emotions.
It does. It does, and I love it that the way they do it in like the form of a prophecy. But the thing is, when it comes to the face of Bo, there's always the question of how did he become this way? What happened?
But we will find out more information. So if you're kind of, I feel like with Tennant, this is where Doctor Who really does pick up. Even though I still am not a huge fan of Rose, this is a Doctor that I feel like a lot of people latch onto.
Oh yeah.
That when people talk about who is your Doctor, especially of like this new Who series, Tennant has to be one of the
definitely. Like a lot of people, when you ask, well, who's your Doctor? They're like, oh, Tennant is it. This is the one that I love. This is the one I pay attention to. All these things, like aesthetically pleasing, but also his portrayal of the character itself was just so insightful. It gave us so many ideas, so many thoughts about like how the Doctor does treat people. Why does he treat them this particular way? And you get those answers throughout most of this season. Yes. And I love it.
I love how you mentioned that he is aesthetically pleasing. He is a very handsome man. I like that we get to see that Rose, like, Cassandra brings out a lot of the, like, internal thoughts of these characters, which I really enjoy. And it's like, you quite fancy him. You think he's cute, you know?
Think he's cute.
And it's like, we do too, because that's kind of the voice of the audience. Of like, yes, there's always been some kind of like sexual tension between her and the Doctor. But now that Eccleston is younger and, kind of looks more age appropriate for Rose, I feel like they can explore and they will explore that kind of relationship. And kind of being in the Doctor's mind too, where it's like, oh, you kind of like her?
Right.
Like, it kind of seems like that.
There's an interest.
Yeah.
And it is interesting because prior to this, remember, the Doctor was quote-unquote asexual. And then we did
minus
get
the
our
movie
revival.
that was the American one where that got weird and hand-holding and kissing.
That was, But that kind of gave us, or ushered in the new age where it was like, no, he's not. He actually can have a level of interest, and we're going to explore that a little bit more. And they did feel the liberty or freedom to do so now with Tennant, where we didn't have it with Eccleston. And Eccleston, I understand.
You saw Rose wanting to do that. Like, in the very beginning, like, one of the first shots between Rose and the Doctor is them holding hands, grabs her, runs away from the mannequins, and does all of that stuff. But it's kind of... It borders between platonic and romance, but I feel like this really sets it up with Cassandra just straight out saying it's like, you like the way he looks now.
Yeah.
Like he is a new Doctor, a new man, and you can finally explore it. And like the reverse actually happens when we see Clara in the future between Matt Smith and aging up significantly into Capaldi. Like their romance, and she's just like, I don't know how to reconcile this. You are my grandfather.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, he's 900 years old. You shouldn't be dating him anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a weird vampire thing.
Yep. Exactly. So it was like, no, it was always there. It just, all because of what you have for the window dressing doesn't mean that the story inside is different. Yeah. And that was the thing. So you get to see that kind of breakdown, but we see the buds of it starting here.
Yes. And I think it's okay. And I think because Rose wasn't super duper annoying, the only part that I really didn't like is like when she meets Cassandra, like it was never like, hey, let's reconcile our differences. She was immediately like, oh, I remember you. You're not the last human. Oh, you got a minion. I don't like the way he looks either. And like kind of antagonizing her and him. And she lives in a basement barely hanging on to life. Like, and all this time has passed. Like, you don't even give her the benefit of the doubt that like after Earth exploded and they created new Earth and all this stuff is happening that she could have changed. Rose immediately is like, no, I remember. You're a terrible person. Nobody likes you.
Well, see, that's interesting. It's kind of like, funny enough, we have another show called Question Player 2 where we did talk about the whole cheater thing, and it's like, that's
can
the same
people change?
mindset.
And people can change. I mean, Cassandra kind of didn't in this episode, but I'm like, Rose didn't even give her the benefit of the doubt, especially since Rose, in that particular episode, I thought was learning to be more compassionate and more caring. And when she watches Earth blow up and she's having all these kind of existential crisis, that she would become a better person. But we see that she has not developed at all. She is still kind of like that. And I like how the way Cassandra like says it. She's like hormones, you know.
Yes.
And it's just like she's all over the place. And I get it. She's a 19-year-old girl. She's not fully established. Like you know, she's still young, and it's hard to remember that for me sometimes. True. But oh man.
And see, the thing is, even at that age, I wasn't like her. So that's the thing. People always say that. Oh well, she's young. You know, young and dumb. That's just the way it is. And I was like, at that age, I wasn't that way. I wasn't that petulant.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's why she comes off, which is why I like her in this episode, because she's mostly Cassandra. And Cassandra is so sassy and so just playful, like the way she rubs herself. She's just like, oh, you got this jacket, unbutton 2 more of these buttons. And
like when she was going back and forth, it was so great because it was like she'd get in the Rose room, she was like, oh, and then she'd get in the doctor, oh. It was always this. It was always a touch and a oh and a oh. Like I loved it. Just so sassy.
Yeah, and I thought it was super fun. And, like, I don't know. Everything about this episode I thought was pretty good. I like the callbacks. I love the emotional touches on it. I love, like, even, like, everything. I don't know. Actually, I did write a note. There was one other thing that I didn't like with Rose. Because Cassandra goes in and out of everyone's body. The doctor, the Rose, like, some of the zombie people, you know. And she was able to hang on to the ladder, but I like at the end when Cassandra finally leaves her, she was like, oh, I'm fainting,
oh,
please hold me. And I feel like, man, Rose, you can't even like play that cool. We've already seen you Cassandra go in and out of your body, you had no issues, you were able to hang on to a ladder, and then now you're like, I want to fall into the doctor's arms. And that kind of manipulation, I feel like we'll see more and more as the episodes go on, and I absolutely hate it, so get ready for ranting on that.
Oh, it's perfectly fine. I mean, come on, this show, all we do is pretty much tell the world how we are not fans of Rose, and we wait for the world to agree.
It's true. It's true.
Oh my god. This episode, like I said, like we brought up earlier, just the callbacks and everything, this is an episode that's kind of like, hey, you've been watching for a while, here's some treats.
Yeah. And also, this is one of the first times where, like, a major emotional pull for me. And I know that, okay, so Cassandra is in Chip. And she mentions it, well, at the very end, and she goes to herself because she remembers, like, she mentions it early in the episode where she was like, she's watching videos of her past life, and she was like, that was the last time anyone called me beautiful. Yeah. And it's like, it's a throwaway line, but at the end where she was like, wait, that was me. This is something that I'm going to remember forever. And she's dying, and she's like, I accept death. I know that it's going to happen. Chip and me have been in this for the long run. I think we should die together. So that was the first part where I was like, whoa, Cassandra has grown. Like, whatever it is in that brief amount of episodes, turning from super selfish to, like, very accepting. Like, she went through those, like, stages of, like, death, like, super quick, and accepted it. And it was like, you know, and even the doctor took compassion on her, which Rose never does. That's very true. Like, you know, in this last moment, I will do something for you. Takes her to that moment so she can tell herself it's like, you were beautiful, because she knows that she's a flap of skin with just eyes and a mouth, and it's like, you can't ignore that. And even though she tries to be conceited and tries to say, like, oh no, I'm so beautiful, I'm the last human, she knows deep down inside that she isn't. She's like a thin veneer of, like, who she used to be.
Very true.
And we see who she was in the very end too, where, like, she wasn't self-absorbed. She's like, dude, this guy just came up to me and he's dying, like, help, like, please.
See, this is the thing. You know? I have this counterpart, and kind of like a counter argument on that, because the thing is, she doesn't know who he is. But the thing is, she only cares for him because it's conditional. It's conditional love. She only cared for him because, well, or herself, however you want to say it. She only cared for him because he said something that made her feel special. If he didn't tell her, you're beautiful, and then fall over, if he just said, like, you know, hello, hopefully you have a great day, and then, she'd be like, oh my God, this guy's dying. All right,
I don't
somebody.
know if that's it. I feel like her callousness
loved him.
grew as her humanity left her, as she became like that flap of skin that she's not human, and she kind of lost that. But when she's in that body before, and when she was in, you know, her original body, that she did have that. Because at first he was like, oh, you're beautiful. She kind of dismisses the comment.
Yes.
It's like, oh yeah, thanks. You know, he's like, no, really, you're beautiful. And she was like, holy shit, like this guy just came up to me and like is super passionate and has all of this emotion behind it, and I don't even know who you are.
Right.
Like, it genuinely affected her. And I think she's always been trying to get back to that moment where someone sees her as a human, as a person, you know, and like she didn't know it's herself saying it to her,
yeah,
you know, but it affected her that much. So when however she like dehumanized herself into like that spread of skin, I feel like she's always been trying to come back to that, and she finally got that opportunity. The doctor gave her that opportunity to express that to herself.
Nice. So she's always been a chase of getting back to that moment.
And even Rose, I feel like Rose comments too, where it's like, you're not really human, because she really wasn't.
No.
She was self-absorbed. She had no empathy for anyone else except for
you become a
herself.
monster.
And at the end, I feel like she kind of redeemed herself a little bit.
Yes, she did.
And I love that.
She did.
And I love that about Doctor Who.
Yeah, it will give us a moment where it does do that, where it gives a moment where you can see the character make a choice.
Yes.
And that's the thing, because like that's what they feel that Doctor Who is when it comes. There's not fate, there's not destiny. It's about choice, and what you do will determine what happens.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. She made that choice, and because of that, well, it was a good death.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, I felt like we could kind of wrap it up since if there's anything else, but like I really love this episode, and
it's good. Oh yeah, there is. I forgot to mention this. This is something that I found very interesting.
Okay.
So this actor, he's the guy that had that stone disease.
Yes.
Kind of like we said before, kind of like close to
Jorah Mormont. He gets touched by the stone people, and he's getting some creme brulee on his skin.
So it's kind of like close to that. And this same character is a character that we see later in Doctor Who, where he's talking to well, there's two times we see him. One where he's talking to what's her name? River, and he tells River, like, she's like, oh, you have a time manipulator. And he says, oh, I got it off the hands of a very handsome time, blah blah.
Yeah.
That's him. And then later, where he's just a head in a box, and he goes, the answer to the question of who, Doctor, who? That's the same actor.
The same guy?
So I think it's the same guy. I think it's just going through time.
Okay, so going through that when we get to those episodes, I would be super interested, because I've never gone back and rewatched any of Doctor Who. I just kind of go through.
The name.
So that is something to look forward to. So I'm super excited.
If it's the case, then that's big. That's something I just wanted to be able to point out and say, if that is the case, we found it, we cracked it. There you go. You're welcome for it. If it's not the case, forget that we brought it up.
I know.
So with that, we want to say, well, thank you guys for watching.
Yes.
We definitely appreciate it.
Talk Who every Sunday here around 6 o'clock. Give or take, depending on our, tech issues and how long Retro Ranger wrap up lasts. Sometimes we're chatty Cathy's and we go for a really long time, and sometimes we don't. But around 6 o'clock, if you hit that bell symbol, you'll get notifications of when our videos go live.
Yep. So with that, where can everyone find you?
I'm LT on Instagram, and
I'm Battlestalker Black on Instagram. And you guys make sure that, once again, like you said, hit the notification. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to keep up to date with everything trending
in geek pop culture.
Bye, guys.